And you should be able to feel the spine is upright. It's important to release the grinds when you're unwell. So maybe you need to sit on some height. When you're ready, just close your eyes and give yourself permission to relax. If you're really unwell too, you can lay down at any time, even for the invocation. Bring your hands up to Atmanjali Mudra. Let the knees and thighs relax down. You can keep your eyes open or close your eyes. And just be gentle with your breath. So receive your breath. You can also envision something that you're thankful for at this moment, which is another tool. So I'll try to provide you with some tools, not just an anatomical study for practice today, but the philosophy is important. Sometimes visual imagery like trees or evoking that feeling you get when you walk outside and just picturing what that walk is like, picturing the freshness of the air. Let's do the invocation. Take a deep inhalation. Yogena chittasya padena pacham alam sharirasya chaparijakena rupa kurutam pravram udinam patanjalim pranjalim pranatosmi avahu purushakaram Shankachakrasidadinam Sahasra Shirsam Svetam Anamani Patanjalim Hari Lift your chest. Release your head down towards your hands. Release your hands down towards your legs. And slowly lift your head up and open your eyes. So we're starting off with Adho Mukha Virasana, supported. So if you don't have bolsters, you can take pillows. So it's good to have enough height to actually make your body parallel with the floor. And sometimes we can do that with just one bolster. Downward facing hero's pose is also just getting close to the earth. It's good to have a little bit of support under the heels because that will help tilt the pelvis forward. So when I bend forward, my back is quite rounded. It's just not settling down. So I want my actual spine to just settle down. Kind of like when you plant carrot seeds, you kind of want the seeds to stay stay in the dirt. So more height is better when that's the case, so that the spine can just release down into the support. And you can also have your head facing downward as long as your nose is not squished. And putting your forehead on your forearms can help create a cervical curve. But if that crunches the tops of your shoulders, then just releasing your arms down is better. And just breathe into your back lungs. So this is called back breathing. And this will allow the front of your brain to relax. And get a feeling of that water element where there's some spreading in your back. So even the shoulder blades can relax sideways and downwards. And the breath, you can just have the breath be normal. Or if you feel like your breath is a little bit congested, then you can do a little bit deeper inhales without forcing. Usually the breath will teach you really what to do if we just let it flow and really just give it, our attention. So the arms should rest, the legs should rest. And we're trying to stay here so that there's a full circulation of the blood in the lymph system. We try to get each pose to have a full cycle of that. There'll be some quiet time today in your poses as well. So if you ever feel like you're getting depressed, just start thinking about something positive. You can chant Om Shanti Shanti. Now Parshva Anamukha Virasana. So take the support to the outside of your right knee, and then you'll bend over. So this is a forward bend, sideways. So not a twist, but a Parshva sideline position. And you might actually need some extra height here than you had before, because this is actually a hard pose. So you might need that. And you can turn the head to the side or straight down. It's up to you. The right hip should get packed slightly over to the left so you don't fall off the rocker of the heels. There's a squeezing action here of the right lung, just a little bit of a congestion there. And the left lungs are getting open. So the left side has 2 lobes and the right side has 3. The squeezing action is actually good because then fresh air will come out when we come out of the pose. And we're resting the kidney here. We're stretching that left kidney. We're stretching the colon, the descending colon, and the spleen. Just keep relaxing and breathing into your backside lungs. Okay, you all look pretty good here. I would, I think your neck is a little congested because it's dipping down. Okay, so you might want to just tilt your head straight down a little bit more so you can elongate the back of your neck. You don't want to have any neck pain after these. Yeah, good. That looks good. The armpits are good to just release and open because of the lymph nodes. Now go to the other side. Wow, Natalie, you're lucky. You did the Menses sequence yesterday and now this one. Wow, that's a magic combo. And you can actually use your hand to turn the abdomen slightly over to the left or just the viscera. Encourage that action. So you're stretching the right liver, the right kidney, the ascending colon, and just allow yourself to rest. Cultivate patience here, steadiness, but the breath is what's very profound and open. So the breath is what connects us with that unlimited potential. This is also a good pose. These poses here are good for recovering if you do get the vaccine. Now let's come to center, and what you'll do is we'll do the Parita action, which is a revolved position. This is where we get to twist. So the muscular twisting is very good to push the breath into the opposite lung. So if I turn to the right, I'm squeezing. I turn to the right, I'm squeezing the right side. Okay, and the breath shoots out over to another spot in the lungs. Our goal is to try to get the breath to all the sections of our lungs. Okay, so now I have this brick and I just weave my arm through. You can use a pillow too. I kind of need a little more height. So I just weave my arm through. And the bottom shoulder is really benefited here by just releasing it. The ear canals should be level. This can also help with the ear crystal imbalances. And be careful that the back of your head is, the center of your head is in line with the center of your tailbone. So you're just creating like a riverbank of each sides of your spine so the breath can flow up and down the spinal column. And there's a slight puffing action of your upper lungs that are the side that's up towards the ceiling. So let that side inflate, kind of like a hot air balloon. And And then the bottom side just relax. Even let the eyes themselves drop down to the floor, the brain, let it drop. And then other side. So if you did get the vaccine in your arm, the pressure of that arm, if it's touching the floor, could be very good to kind of squeeze out some of that vaccination liquid to spread it out. So we're essentially creating like a sandbag by kind of letting that arm drop down, hang down. Even our whole shoulder girdle is a little bit heavy on that bottom arm. So things can drain out of that bottom armpit lymph area. And then we puff up the top lungs just a bit, whether it's like clouds that you imagine, or a flower blooming, or that hot air balloon. But you can be playful with your thoughts in yoga, which is really a good coping skill for being unwell. Okay, now let's come back forward, downward facing dog pose, and it really is good to have some support here. So you can put your hands at a wall, or even just holding your mat with your hands and having some support for your head. If you have a rope wall, you can do that. And if you're unwell, you just go up and down a few times, because this is good for if you've been sitting a while or if you've been in bed a while. You just want to kind of get the legs to open up. Good. Move the tops of the thighs back so that the abdomen can have some space. So stretch yourself up, up and up and up and up, and then sideways. I would go a little wider, Stephen, so legs back a little bit more, please. That looks good, Lisa. Good, Carly. And Sandy, your right leg just needs to, left leg needs to press down a little more. Be heavier on your left leg, just a little. Yeah, there you go, that's better. You can even count. Sometimes I count. Sometimes I even spell names of people that I love. So why you can spell Natalie's name, Natalie, you can spell her name. Now, Uttanasana. Uttanasana. It's best if you can put your head even on that desk. Why? It would be great for you. Put some height. I have to get my chair, excuse me. I would say for you at this moment, having your head on height is the best. And I'll show it with a bolster or a blanket with the chair. So I'm angled at the wall. Because the goal is back body breathing. Okay, if I go too far down, yeah, sure, my head can release and all that. And I'm stretching my side. Maybe this would be better if your side lungs were congested. So today is all about really the support of the props and going through the practice, because you never know when you'll need it. So you're kind of like making an imprint today. Even if you're well and you're feeling great, you're hoping it was an active class, this is good to practice, because yes, you just get an embodiment of it.
And then you can call upon that when you need it. You can still activate your legs. Sarah, I would take your hips back just a little bit. Be more in your heels, just for a moment till it settles there. Yes. This pose actually will help lengthen and strengthen our spine. Plus, it gets us into a state of balance, symmetry. So if you've had your arms crossed, you can switch the cross of your arms. Now, Prasarita Padottanasana, where we are spreading the feet. And again, you can use the height, okay? You can use that tall height, or you can take your head down. So there's a lot of variations to Prasarita Padottanasana. And the point is that you make yourself comfortable. You can do one variation for a moment. Sometimes it's good to stretch the arms forward in a downward facing Adho Mukha position, because if you are feeling like the stiffness of the rib cage, so we want the intercostal muscles in the ribs to open. This is kind of like a starfish, or you can take the head all the way down, because you created some softness there. So now we can work on some length, getting the spine to really elongate. And this will open those lymph nodes in the groin area. Release the back of your head, or just make sure your neck is not compressed. Yeah, Sandy, I would tuck your head even a little bit more. Yeah. Yes, and for the purpose of feeling your brain. And pick a spot. It's up to you, but you can pick a spot where you can feel actually relax in your brain. If you feel it, you kind of get like a little bit of a body buzz even. And your eyes just close and you kind of really feel almost like the cells of your body. Good, Carly. Wonderful. And the organs can be in their places, even though you're hanging down. The organs can hang, like the heart can hang here. But you can also kind of, if you draw the middle of your abdomen just a little bit up, it'll support your spine. There you go. That's it, Carly. Now just stand up to Tadasana. So here's where I change something a little bit. Why do you have a chair? Some sort of chair? Or maybe she went to get some water. That's good. I'm going to add this pose, okay, just because I think it's important. So you can do this over a chair, and some of you have done this with me, where we are just arching sideways over something. So you can breathe and stretch. Oh yeah, we've done this. Okay, so you can really open up your side lungs. Even okay if your bottom foot is not touching the floor. Because at some point it's like, oh, okay, I'm open. Yeah, Riri, do you have something you can hang off of, like a couch or bed or some kind of chair? I can also put my elbow on the front of this chair and just support my head, because I've had times where my head needs that support. Ah, good, Riri. Woohoo! Why? Sorry. You know why I said Riri? Because my nephew calls my mom Riri. It's really cute. He's only 3. He can't say Marie, so he says Riri. Yes, good. Open up the side lungs, especially right up by the side of your armpit. That's the serratus anterior muscle. That muscle goes underneath your shoulder blade. And that muscle is responsible for a lot of things, raising our arms up over our heads, and it gets tight. Plus it can stretch that whole side hip. I would hang a little bit lower, Lisa, if you can get your hips a little higher on that bolster. Maybe, Lisa, with the yeah, there you go. And just hang your spine. Good. It can be good for scoliosis too. Okay, now to come out, what I do is I just swing my top leg forward into Virabhadrasana 1, or just come out any way you can, and then we'll do the other side. And I want to just tell you a little bit about this as you get settled. The respiratory therapist that is an amazing Iyengar yoga student is explaining that all the different positions we put our lungs are very important. So we went from laying forward, prone, okay, and now we're sideways. So we're kind of switching directions in order to access the different segments. Just keep letting yourself relax, because inflammation also comes when we're stressed or we have anxiety. Okay, now come out. Now the next pose is a bit of a shocker. So it's Adho Mukha Vrikshasana, which is handstand. So the theory about this is that when our world is chaotic, we go upside down and it's like, oh, I don't have to like stay so focused on the world. If you're not doing Adho Mukha Vrikshasana, then just have your hand at the wall for Ardha Uttanasana. And you can be really strong in your arms. And get the head to go towards the wall, thighs away from the wall. And try to stretch your spine in 2 directions. And if you're going up, that's it, Natalie, and spread all your fingers if your hands are at the wall. Go ahead and take your feet slightly apart in Vrikshasana so you can cool down the nervous system and open up the lymph nodes. Yes, middle buttocks forward. If your hands are at the wall, plug your upper arm bones into the socket and try to spread your shoulder blades. Head towards the wall, thighs away from the wall. Those of you in Vrikshasana, release the head, Sandy. Yeah, just relax the head. Press your heels up or down. Out you come. Now, Shirshasana, headstand, but I would not recommend it, if you're not regularly practicing it, not at this time. So for you, let's go ahead and, or if you're menstruating, let's go ahead and open the blinds. So you can position yourself in such a way that your leg, your right leg, your lateral leg is against that desk or supported on something. And then you'll have your arms out to the sides and some support for your head. So you're kind of making that starfish position where your lymph nodes are just so open. And now the lungs are up. Okay, so very good position. The rest of you, we're doing a long hold. We're doing at least 5 minutes of your Shirshasana today. But you don't have to, don't force it. If, please do not do Shirshasana if you start to get a neck ache. I've done that. I did that this week and it was a bad idea because I was so tired. I actually almost fell asleep in the pose and I just was too tired to come out of it. So be aware of the messages that your body are giving you. Yeah, that's good, YY. And take your bottom leg a little bit out to the side as well if you're in the lateral position. That's it, Natalie. Good job. See, Natalie, you're standing on your arms. Wonderful. So the forearms should support you. You can take your feet hip width apart. That's right, Stephen. So there's a softness to the abdomen. When I was really unwell with Lyme disease, the best thing that I did was to keep my feet hip width apart in like Tadasana, Shirshasana, Sarvangasana. I did that for a couple months and it got a lot better because the abdomen should receive and be broad. That looks good, Sandy. Yeah, see your legs are more even now, the feet hip width. Can you plug the outer femur heads into the sockets and lift the inner ankles up? From your arms, so rolling the outer arm forward, outer upper arms forward, and then lift your shoulder blades up. You don't have to push your shoulder blades so much forward. If your outer arms are rolling forward, then you try to lift the shoulder blades up to the buttocks up to the heels. Even the big toe, the big toenail, the edge that's closest to your second toe, can you roll that towards the center line? So roll the skin of your feet from the outside to the midline, even that big toe from the outer edge to the inner edge, midline. The tops of the thighs should move back, but the backs of your calves forward. Tops of the thighs back, backs of your calves forward, inner knees back, outer knees back. Outer shin bones in, Stephen, cut the outer. Yeah, if you're craving to take your legs together, do so now, because energetically, if you're going towards that, go ahead and do that now. Stephen, your left leg has to squeeze in a little bit more towards the right. Yeah, make the energy of the legs even. Yeah, that's good. There, that's better. It's getting better, Sandy. The longer you hold, good for you. And Sarah, please stretch your calves up, the head of the calf muscle. Make the head of your calf thin and the bottom of your calf thick. Just with your imagination. And then YY, you can switch legs now, please. So you could spin around on the floor. Yes. Yeah, if you need to come down, come down. You have about a minute left. So I'll give you that quiet time, last minute. Okay. Now come down. Those of you who did Shirshasana, just rest in either Adho Mukha Virasana or Uttanasana to release your neck. Okay, let's come up. I'm pulling up the picture that I showed um, of the lungs. So now we are about to go on our supine journey and chest opening journey. So one day I was teaching a class and I was kind of thinking imaginatively, saying, breathe into all these different segments. And then Tony, the respiratory therapist, said, no way, because there are segments in the lungs. And he sent this picture. So it's real playful. I like this image a lot because it's so playful with the colors. So you can associate different colors with, different sections of your lungs, or just kind of figure out kind of what colors to start to come to you. And then you can practice, breathing in different sections, which sections are receiving the breath better. Usually, in pranayama, it's kind of like upper lungs, middle lungs, lower lungs. But very interesting to look at all the actual sections. So I want to show, let's see, since you're here, let me show this picture of Tony. This is Tony, the respiratory therapist, doing a forward position and actually literally pounding on my lungs. This is when I was really sick with bronchitis and asthma. So he was literally pounding my ribs to get the fluid out. Okay, so we'll get to that in a moment. And let me now just hold up a picture of this pose, and Rung, there'll be or YY, there'll be a different pose for you. So this is a Viparita Dandasana Shirshasana. Okay, and I probably have taught this position. Now, my friend Christine has her legs bent at the wall, which is pretty cool if it's hard to hold your legs up. Okay, and being on the crown of the head can be challenging. My mistake this week is I did it on a back bender and I didn't have enough height under my buttocks and I jammed my neck. So that's why you probably should add some blankets to your chair. Okay, if you're really tall, you'll want to definitely add a few blankets. Now, what you can do is kind of a hybrid of this. I don't know if you have a bolster, or you can use pillows and you create an upward shape and then you put your legs up the wall. Okay, and I like to sit on a blanket for this or a pillow because I like to, there's a goddess called Lakshmi and Lakshmi sits on a lotus flower. And lately I keep thinking that the blanket I sit on is my lotus because
we all need to come out of that mud and blossom a little bit. So this is what I like to do when I can't be on my head. Okay, because the puddling of the abdomen is what's key in this position. Getting a super soft abdomen. And this is good for acid reflux too. So, and I'm a little bit wide. I would go a little bit closer. Where it's like, you know, floating, it's like the boat pose. So you get to float a little bit. Okay, and then I'll spotlight someone who's going to do Dvipada or Viparita Dandasana Shirshasana. You can always do work, yeah, don't do just back bend through a chair because that comes later in the sequence. So either pick one of these two. That's it. I have a brick here that's just creating upward lift. In the therapy classes, even if someone's really flexible, we give them a little bit of, we do it on a Simhasana box, which is taller. And it's just to open up the chest. We want maximum chest opening without that nagging knee pain. Okay, so the Virasana position, if you have sandbags, they're very nice for the thighs. Okay, and then you're going back. If you have a slanting plank, you can add a slanting plank under your chest and have enough height for your head. Okay, otherwise, if that hurts your knees, then do a different leg position. I would actually suggest a Upavishtra Konasana because that will give you an opening of your groins for the lymph system. So that's starfish again. Okay, we're trying to stay in this position at least 3 to 5 minutes. I can't see you. Why can you tilt the camera down just a little so that I can see as we do a couple supine poses? Thanks. Yeah. Perfect. Yay, perfect. Your purple mat. You can also rest your hands on your abdomen, or I would hold the wrist. We'll do a comparison study because if you hold your elbows, sometimes it narrows the collarbones. So holding the wrist gives you a little bit more spreading. And the knees can be slightly apart for the purpose of the abdomen. If it recedes better, then the knees can be apart. My upper back was so stiff one time that in Pune, they were encouraging me to keep my legs apart slightly because I felt that it created a little softness in my dorsal spine. But if you're a seasoned practitioner, you might be fine, you know, with the knees together. Let me go over a yoga sutra here so that we can now go to a bit of philosophy. So the sutra that we're on is, find it here, 428. Hanam Esham Kleshavat Uttam. This is the sutra about being free from afflictions. It's perfect timing. And that we have to have disciplines such as faith, vigor, and vitality. And it's very interesting that Guruji put vitality as a discipline. So you can contemplate on that for a moment.
Can you go back to the sections of your lungs now? And even you can draw the lines with your consciousness of the lines in between the sections. Or just allow some imagery to come. Okay, use your hands to come up. Why, that looked great. Good job. Now, if you can do Padmasana comfortably, then it's Matsyasana. And otherwise, you'll cross your shin bones for, this is swastika in the Indian tradition. It's very much considered as translated as health. So I always remember that when I have my shins crossed, that really is embodying this sense of healing. And I'm putting a blanket under and putting it a little thicker on the knee that's lower. Okay, so that when I go back, the support on the legs is nice, so the femur heads don't just fall out of the socket. And just allow yourself to deeply rest. Even if you go to sleep, it's okay. Let yourself get a little bit dreamy. And if you're just feeling like dragged down, like, oh, I'm just so tired, even if you don't want to be here in class, like I've had that feeling before where I'm just like, oh, I'm so tired. It's mostly the feeling of being tired. And after class, you'll probably feel better. So if you just stick with it. So let the diaphragm also settle and just spread. Sometimes I do put my hands there on my diaphragm. If it feels tight, that could be important for you. Why would I just feel with your hands and kind of use your hands to even gently spread the skin of your front chest. I'm using my fingertips. We do this in the therapy class. We actually we ask permission or we encourage the student to literally spread their chest with their fingertips because it will give you a tangible experience. And if you focus on the breath constantly, sometimes that is a lot of work, actually. It just gets to be really a lot of work and just, using different modalities. It also breaks the body of like being more conscious of what's happening. I think this would be good for a musician too, because positions like that, like this, it's almost as if the sounds become even more stronger. We have a capacity to hear better. Senses of perception get heightened because we're stilling the body. And now let's switch the cross of the legs. If you ever feel depressed too, you can always add like a rolled blanket under the chest and just get some more height. Very good. Yeah, lengthen that ligament in the front of the hips. It takes some time, so don't force it. Just imagine that ligament stretching. Yeah. Okay, now, why, I know you did Baddha Konasana with the bottoms of your feet together. So the rest of us can do that, and it's okay. It doesn't matter the sequence. But if you did take the bottom of your feet together, now you can cross your shins. Or, like I said, do an Upavishta Konasana with the legs wide in a starfish position to really get those groins to open. It's not, it's not a classical position. But you can have free choice. You can free choice, because free choice is always a good one. Go with what's feeling good in class today. So even if you want to repeat Sukha Virasana, you can. Make sure that the top of the trapezius, I have to use my hands a lot because the skin of the back, it gets gathered, it gets buckled in the back, and we want to unbuckle. So it's like when you eat a lot of food and you have to take off your belt. Or sometimes during menstruation, really elastic is even too firm on the abdomen. So you want to have that feeling of just letting things spread, like that water element, the floating element, but something is still just laying on the water, like how the lotus just lays on the water. And it can even rain on lotuses, and they still remain beautiful. They also have the capacity to close at night. So they save some of their beauty for themselves. They don't just deplete themselves completely. Maybe you're feeling an effect on the brain itself. So each time you exhale, imagining there's tension releasing from your skull. As if sometimes we even say that let the brain feel like it's shrinking in order to relieve some of that pressure, especially if there's inflammation in the brain itself. Each time you inhale, you try not to let it inflate too much. So you're using your powers to shrink the inflammation. Let it just dissipate out of your body. And the inhales are helping you absorb the oxygen, to receive even the exhales. The inhales help us receive the exhales. Okay, out you come. Now I see your chair. Okay, so I'm going to, next is Pavanamuttanasana. I'm sorry that I have to show you a few technical things now. So if you have 2 chairs, that's what you'll need for this one. Otherwise, oh, you do have 2 chairs. Yay, I think you can do it. Okay, all right. So why I see that your chairs have backs, and that's fine. So what I'll do is I'll show this way where we just place the chairs next to each other. It really is good to have. Let's see, let's have our priority be having the chairs on your mat. I wouldn't want the chairs to slip. And then sometimes we usually put a mat on the chair, but we can skip that today. So if you don't have a bolster, you can add some pillows. And then a brick for the head. And I just try to stagger these. That's why the brick is there. I'll get into it so you can see. If you have a slanting plank or something, you can get that. It gives you even more chest lift. But if not, it's okay. So the goal here is to really, so take a moment. I really want to show this. Some of you might know this stuff. The slanting plank, if you're using it, it can go up here on your upper back. Okay. Otherwise, I'll just show here. So I'm sitting on these lower pillows or this lower bolster. You can also use blankets. Okay, so you're just making this like staggered step shape. And then when I stretch my legs straight, so everybody watch here for a second. My knees are slightly bent. And then I can, when I stretch my legs straight, I don't just step my feet forward. Okay, because it collapses your chest. So instead, I push up. So it's kind of like a slingshot. And I can just point my feet down and then stretch my legs straight instead of just lifting your foot and then moving it forward. Okay? And if you have backache here, like my back is hurting a little bit, my low back. So I would add a little bit more height under my buttock. And if it doesn't work for you, if you just get back pain, then you don't do it. Okay, because it's not worth, this is just, we usually have people do low back shavasana if this hurts their back because it's just not contraindicated. The purpose is really just to open the chest so much for the organic body to settle down in its places. So this is Purvottanasana. It's very good for the ovaries, the uterus. This pose actually helped me break a cyst in my ovary twice. It's optional to have your feet at the wall. Yeah, that's good, Carly. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Too bad you can't put your toes up on something. Sometimes we do that. We put the Simhasana box there. But you'll get it. Okay. And just rest. As long as you're comfortable, no back pain. It's good, YY. I think that's good. Yeah, your abdomen's resting. Perfect. It's okay to rest the hands on the abdomen too. You don't want to cause tension in the neck. So at some point, just you can check, which one feels good. Go for comfort. You should feel a stretch in your ovaries, and if you have them, and your uterus. Yeah, there. Oops. Oh no. Timber. Yeah, good idea with using the bed. It can be done. Yeah. Now, Sarah, I would use your hands and like hook that slanting wedge underneath because you got to pull it down just a little. Yeah, see the skin gets dragged down when you pull it. There, that's much better. Much, much better. We're not staying terribly long here. That looks good. I would just Stephen, I would just soften your diaphragm a little bit, your bottom ribs. And can you lift the top of your sternum more with your breath? Yeah, so kind of deflate the diaphragm and inflate the sternum. You can breathe into your collarbones or just pick your place, your secret segments of your lungs. Yeah, you can let your arms hang. That's okay. You can do that. We do that sometimes. Or we support them out to the sides on chairs, but that's a lot of setting up. You're all doing so well. I'm impressed. Okay, come up. Now Dvipada Viparita Dandasana through the chair. By the way, I'm not sure you can get your legs under that chair. Okay, so if you can't, you can repeat what you did earlier through, hanging over the chair, just laying over a bed even. But don't do too much because, it's all about comfort today. Knowing when the boundaries are there. If you have 2 chairs, it's really quite nice to have your feet up, especially if you're just resting the abdomen. So for menses, that's a good idea. I do have the mat on the chair I'm arching over. Sometimes less props is better. So today I'm not going to get out a bunch of things. Although I am going to support my head with a brick or enough height so that my neck is not hurting. So you would have to get your legs under the back of the chair. I'm not sure that you can do that. So if not, you can repeat one of the poses we've done earlier. And I like my hands on the outside of my chair if I'm doing lung work, because I can let the area from the collarbones to the trapezius drop. That area gets caught. Seems like it bunches up whenever I try to force my arms through. And I'm really going for width. But, if the front of your lungs are congested, then you might want to go with more verticality instead of width. So you have to cater your practice. Even if my words say to do things, you get to have choices and what you really do. That's why it's the advanced class. Okay, that's good. Yes, good job there. Woohoo. Yeah, and you can even support your head if you need to. Remember, if it's hanging heavy. It's so weird, Stephen and YY. Like, I was like, next to each other on the screens, and it looks like Steven's chair is YY's head. So I was like, what is going on? Like, I was like, almost like what I wanted YY to like reach and touch Steven's chair, it's like, whoa, like being in a video game or something. Yeah, try to get comfortable. And if you're not, come out today, especially. That's right. Too bad you didn't have, Lisa, you didn't have bricks to put your hands on, because I can see you're really craving that width. Yeah, so if I were there, I would put 2 tall bricks under each hand and really let you go for it. Yeah, you can get that. It's worth it. You just have to space them right, which is tricky. Oh, hi, little puppy. Just did some yoga. And Fletch is here too. Hi, little baby, little puppy. Oh. So can you tap into the whole periphery of your body? And the word vitality is a discipline. Interesting. Just staying another couple breaths here. Yeah, that's it, Lisa. You did it. Yeah, keep letting those arms just drop down. Like you're doing the back bend from your arms dropping down instead of the chest so much. So the shoulder joint itself gets some relief. Okay, let's come up now and just sit for a moment with your feet on the floor. Come up with the feet on the floor if you can, so that you can use your feet for your back. And just let yourself be quiet there. You can even close your eyes for a moment or leave them open. And take a moment to feel the bones, the spine, especially if you went to this really ethereal place where there was a lot of expansion. You can draw yourself to your bones, and you might feel some steadiness there, or you might feel that water element. This is where we get a feeling and an experience to wash over us. Now, rope 1 is next, but since we don't have ropes, I have a little trick for this. So we'll just sit in a chair. It's very, very simple. And I just lean forward. And I try to pretend that my spine is a hammock. It's just dropping in this U shape. And then if you're feeling brave, you can walk your feet back a little more. But try to tuck your buttocks towards the back of your knees. It's easier to hang when we dig our low back down. But let's try to hang from our upper back. And then you can look forward. Unless you have neck pain, then you can look down. Sometimes looking down actually helps us open the chest. It's really interesting because it sort of like puts like some weight
on the chest. It's like when you push a button and something ejects out. That's the head can kind of sometimes drop down, and then it gives the chest a little bit more weight to move it forward. Otherwise, you can look up and try to roll your upper arms back. That's really where we get the chest open from. It's really the upper arm work. You can turn your palms now on the chair so that your palms are out. And it's probably tighter because this really gets our collarbones. And just breathe in your collarbones. And keep the eyes focused. Make sure you're looking sideways, like out your pupils. Because I think there's something to that. When we're healing and we're scared, we kind of get like in our heads or get in this like tunnel vision. So even the walls that are supporting you, it's like when you go for a walk. That's why walks are so nice, because each step you kind of, it expands your periphery. Okay, now interlace your hands and then place, you can hook your thumb on the chair. You might have to scoot forward now a little bit. Okay, and see what this does. You can look down again. It might release some pressure. And try to lift the armpit chest up. And if the shoulders are injured, you can roll your upper arm bones. So you can actually roll your upper arm bones forward. So look here for a moment. So when I have a shoulder injury, this joint becomes unstable. It's really a miracle that our arms are even held on, because they're only really attached by the scapula or by the collarbone here and the shoulder blade. And then our upper arm bone attaches here. So this spot is very, very prone. It can be injured. And so when you do this, sometimes you can take your hand here and like plug it in. You know, we do that in therapy classes. We actually hold. It feels really good. We make that, you know, the deltoid muscle is what the muscles in our shoulder is what holds it in place. In our hip girdle, we have more ligaments holding things together. Here, it's all about our muscles. That serratus anterior muscle that goes under the shoulder blade helps. The pectorals help. The trapezius helps, and the deltoid helps. So if I make this cap, so I can actually roll this upper arm bone forward, and then I can still lift my chest. I can also let it, and I'm going to turn my palm forward, I can also let it roll back, but the purpose is to help you spread the collarbone, not to just pull the upper arm bone out of that socket. This stuff is really, really important for actually getting your pectoral muscles to spread and open. So go ahead and repeat that, and you can switch the interlace, or you can take your hands like we did before, and imagine someone's hands are holding and securing that bone into the socket. You'll actually feel, if you're doing it right, you should feel your sternum actually goes forward. It's like when teachers tell you to plug your outer femur heads in all the time. It's the same with the shoulder girdle with the upper arm bone. Let's come out now and just have your hands on your lap for a moment, because here again is that flooding of sensation, the flooding of relaxation, balance, of imagination coming to you. Now the next pose is Ardha Halasana. So if you're not familiar with this one, again, this could
not be, the best one to do. If you're just learning this pose for the first time, I don't know. You could try it. So we'll set up for our shoulder balance. And you could just watch how I set up. And if you're not doing, then you can, what I would suggest you do is use a brick and do setu bandha with a brick. Very, very easy. Okay, if you have it, or you can put pillows underneath your buttock for the softness. Okay, so let yourself rest. So if you're unwell, the softness is usually good. Okay, or if you have arthritis. Otherwise, set up your Sarvangasana shoulder balance with at least 3 blankets. Or more if you're using the white ones. We are using the support of a chair today. Okay, good. You got it, Wai. You picked I'm glad you picked that. I would think that would be better for you right now anyway, because it's more of a chest opener at this point, and it's quite restful. Okay, so this way, let's rest our thighs today. So this is kind of like Viparita Dandasana Shirshasana, and this is where it's really good to just have a teacher look at you, because they can tell you, the position that you're in, because it's just hard to see where everything's at. Okay, so my favorite way is to put a bolster, but that just fits my torso. And I know the bar of my chair gets in the way, but I can still move my bolster forward. Okay, so that my thighs are really rested on that support, and my feet are dropping a little bit lower than my thighs. Okay, if it puts too much pressure in your head, then you can come down. And sometimes the pressure is just because of tightness, and it gets better. Okay, or if there's too much pressure, you can also, sometimes I even add an entire bolster. Like today, I have too much pressure in my skull today. So I'm going for maximum height. I'm going to even add an extra bolster on all that support. It's kind of trickier to get into it, though. I have to dive in from the front. This is in the post-Menti sequence, I believe. Yeah, see, now I have no pressure in my brain because I'm on more height in my shoulders. Ah, see, now it's like a relief to be in the pose. That's how it should feel, especially if you're unwell. Or if you're just like, recovering or maybe got vaccinated. Oh, I wanted to stay. It's so comfortable. So absolute comfort. Natalie, can you get your knees a little bit forward? Like maybe pull the chair in a little more. Pull the chair in. Yeah, and then now bring the bolster a little forward and your legs a little forward. Yeah, try to just get your thighs more on the bolster. No, other way. Yeah. That's better. There. That's good. That looks better. But don't stay too long, especially if it's tight. There you go. There you go. Good. You can also bend your knees on that support if having them straight Yeah, but you have to take your leg out actually and rest the top of your foot on the top of the chair. It's kind of like you just take one leg out at a time. Yeah, you have to hold the chair to do it. I should have shown it. That's okay. And then if you, at any time, you can go back to that, where you had the bottom of your feet together in Supta Baddha Konasana. Yeah, or you can stretch your legs straight. That's good too. Sandy, that height looks a little bit too high for you actually, because your feet are actually higher than your hips. I'm just going to let you stay for as long as you feel comfortable and then roll down when you're done. And the sternum should go towards the chin, not just digging the sternum. And the support should be supporting your neck. So it shouldn't be like dropping your neck down. Okay, that looks good, Stephen. Stephen, can you tuck your shoulders a little more? The middle of your back is a little bit rounded. I would actually, yeah, it can be rounded. It's okay. Actually, the spine is a little bit rounded here. But yes, you just need a little, there you go. Now the hamstrings can actually rest. That's good for you. Yeah, that's better, Sandy. And next time what I would do, Sandy, is I would just have a small blanket under just your thighs. And it would lift your spine a little bit more, but still let your feet drop down. Sometimes me and Lois add like a little roll there in the front of the chair. And it just lifts the spine a little bit and the feet can drop. Yes, right there, like a little rolled blanket next time. You can practice it this week. You get this pose down. It's just so good for the back. Okay, let's come out though now. And you'll set up Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. So now, why you can do this now on a pillow if you don't have a bolster, and or blankets. So you all know Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, I think. And sometimes, again, less props is better. So I just do one bolster sometimes, and I go for the starfish, and you hook the shoulders. My head has really enjoyed being back lately. Okay, that's good for depression. Otherwise, you can do the Jalandhara chin to the chest. I'll leave that up to you. Okay, or you can have the legs together. Sometimes I belt the legs together if I'm having hip instability. Or I even put a belt around my feet and go feet width apart for a frame. The belt between the feet hip width apart would be good if like you just had surgery, if you kind of need that structure. It's okay to support your head if it's just not feeling good to have the head back and down so much. So go for comfort, no backache, and spreading. Yes, good, YY. Beautiful. Rest the thighs. What I like about YY's pose is that her thighs are rested. It's excellent. And the arms should be rested. Sandy, can you take your arms a little bit wider maybe, and maybe even out to the side if you want the lymph system to drain? Good. Even rest the hips, rest the diaphragm, rest the throat. Resting the throat is always an interesting instruction. So one time I was in the hospital and they really gave me a ton of drugs, a lot. I was in there for, I don't know, a few days for migraine, and they pumped me with these drugs, and they had to actually monitor my heart because the drugs were so dangerous for my heart. And I knew that my liver was overloaded. So, you know, of course, I went to Lois and she knew what happened. And this was the pose that she put me in. And she actually took a rope underneath my pelvis and pulled up and really kind of opened up my liver. And I felt so much better after. I could not believe it. I mean, it literally like drained out all the poison. Just one time doing this pose. It was amazing. Okay, come down and Salamba Sarvangasana in the chair is what's next. So it is a quite interesting sequence, right? Because usually we do halasana after, and we did it before. So now the easiest way to do it is really with a bolster or some pillows. And most of you know. And I'll let you choose, okay? If you're not doing this, if you don't do this one, because this is a hard one to learn online, you can just be here with your legs up on a chair. And maybe you want some support under your back to open it, or you can lay flat. Okay, so something where you support yourself here, like this, would be another good option. Okay, otherwise I'll just show. So you have to make sure that it's kind of like what we did earlier. You have to be brave and go back, and the shoulders land on the bolster. So you're not on your head, you're on your shoulders, or your shoulders stand. But I just don't want anyone crashing on their head. So do what is comfortable. I would put your mat on that chair, why? Because you don't want the blanket to slide off. You need something sticky. Ah, that's interesting that you did that, Sarah. Sometimes I like to do that too, put my legs up higher on the wall because I get more of an inversion feeling. Yeah, good, Stephen. So you can actually puff your chest and then let the tailbone ease forward at the same time. Yeah. So now, hold on, why come down? Yes, you got to slide down. It's kind of weird. You got to go for it. Yes, until your shoulders land on, yes, like that. That's good. Yeah, and your neck can be supported because it supports the cervical curve. Wonderful job. Wonderful job. Yeah, your head is going towards the left. You can feel that, huh? That's probably from your playing. So can you lift your left ear up? Yeah, and you have to turn your head to the right. Yeah, you're over exaggerating it a little bit, but that's okay. Do that for a while and then it should settle. There, that's straight. This is a good one for you actually, because it can really release that tension in your arms. And don't worry about keeping it straight after a while. Just let the pose hold you. It's okay. Drain out all the stress. Give some rest to the heart here. So here in Lois's commentary, it says this pose is beneficial for the upper respiratory system. After recovery from illness, practice this pose twice a day to bring back lost vitality. So vitality, there you go, is our discipline. This pose has so many qualities. It's even referred to as a nurturing mother position because the outside is soft and the inside is firm. And even men have that feminine energy. So I'm leaving the timing up to you. Ideally, we want to at least stay, a minute or two so we get the full cycle of blood. So we build up our timings in the inversions so that we get more full cycles of blood. It even says that our nerves are soothed in this position. It helps with insomnia, irritation, temper, nervousness, constipation, helps release toxins, helps us get strong, confident, and new life will flow. New life. And here he talks about practicing it twice a day. The only contraindication would really be high blood pressure. Sometimes that would not be good in this position. So the halasana would be better for that. And if you do, it says here, if you do halasana first, it's good for the blood pressure before this pose, which is what we did, which is interesting. Okay, now we have to come down because we don't have much time. So come down, and we're quickly setting up a Viparita Karani, where the easiest way to do it, I really would recommend looking at this article and trying to replicate the one that's in the article, because it's worth a lot of props to do, but it does take time. So the easiest way is just to set up a bolster with a gap. And then I always have a blanket or an extra pillow. You can use pillows for this for sure. Sometimes it actually feels really good to use a thick pillow, or, a long puffy pillow, soft pillow. And remember that the goal is to get the shape right. It doesn't matter even what props you have. We always say that in therapy class. You just want the shape. So the buttocks should drop down a little bit, okay? And then the chest should also drop down. So it's kind of like the waterfall is dropping down the chest. It has to kind of puddle in the abdomen. So simple, again, less props. Feels so good. But if it hurts your back, then you can have the buttocks up a little more and not dropping so much. You can even do the upavishta with the legs. Sometimes I do a belt so that it creates a frame. Lucky, lucky you today. What a nice sequence. And what a nice group to practice it with. You all just did so well. You were all so patient today. Yeah, and make sure your head is comfortable, YY. So you can add support if it's not, if it's back too much. And you can kind of pull the sides of that blanket to support your neck, like you're making a sleeping bag or like the banks of a river. Tuck in your neck and tuck it in for support. So the muscles in your neck can soften. You really need the muscles in your neck to soften. We all do, really. It's hard to do. We even have fascia in our neck. The fascia coats everything. So that should soften. Yeah, you're getting there. That's good. That looks better. Like a little hammock for your neck. Now, can you go and just breathe into the natural places that your breath takes you? It's like when we're on a train and we just get to look out the window. It's just a form of love we give our body when we pay attention to it. Now, I would like you to do one more pose before leaving. And so come down head side. And I want to make sure I tell you about this because you'll see the picture. And I recommend that you print out this sequence. And there's been some people complaining of a tight abdomen after the vaccine. So this might help, but if it makes you nauseous, then you don't do it. So the blanket goes underneath the abdomen, and the purpose of the blanket, you don't put your pelvis on it. It's actually for the navel goes there. So it should just soften your abdomen. And in the photo, Lois has the head on a bolster to help the cervical curve. Okay, sometimes when my neck, I have a flat neck actually, well, I have a reverse curve really. So the bolster is a bit too high for me. And sometimes I actually need to turn my head to the side, just to help the brain, to help. So basically it goes to that, again, keeping yourself in a comfortable state. And this can help you stretch your neck too. If you just hold one side go to the other side, and then you can go down. Try to get the eyes absolutely facing the floor in whatever position you're in. Sometimes we even put roll blankets under the armpits to help the back release better. And the purpose again is going prone. So we went from our chest up to now our chest down. The purpose of that again is to cleanse out the different sections of your lungs and to breathe in different sections. So now we're breathing in the back lungs. And keep letting the shoulder blades spread so you can lift one elbow. So Sandy, not straight up, just a little bit, and pretend that a teacher is pulling your under your arm out. Yeah, and let the armpits themselves rest. Stephen, you would really benefit from, you have your eyes perfect in your neck, good for you. You're learning that better. But for you, I would support some rolls underneath your armpits. You can practice that this weekend too, if you want. Just roll blankets under your armpits. You can do it now if you want. Just make them really thick, so the short end roll. Okay, so last breaths here. Really, even breathe into your hips and your side waist and the collarbones and lungs. Let the front of your lungs just flood into the earth, like you're irrigating the soil with your breath. Okay, yeah, now your shoulders can rest there. See how if you support the front, the back rests. Okay, one more minute. Now raise your right arm over your head to come out. You roll to your side, and we're doing something strange. You're going to stand up all the way up and then force a few coughs. You can even pound a little bit. If you live alone, you don't have to cover your mouth. You can pound on the back. So you can do some coughing in between these poses to really get, Tony recommends that, to cough if you have COVID, to cough in between some of these poses. Okay, so I'm sorry I ran 5 minutes over. I want to share my screen real quick. If you want to take a photo, you can. This is the picture that you can try to set up this week. Why this would be good for you to set up like a little castle, because this prone position is very ideal. It's an inversion and the prone position. So very, very good. And he's doing what's called chest percussion on the chest. This is good for arthritis too. Yeah, I have a lot of phlegm coming out. I'm sure you do too. Okay, so thank you everyone.